Yeah, great. All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Nabista from University of Louisiana Monroe, and I have a special guest for today's this afternoon's session. So I ask everyone to introduce, including my guest for this afternoon, and then we'll take questions at the end of the presentation. All right, Tom, your turn.
Great. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm currently in nice, sunny, but chilly Minneapolis, attending a conference for the next few days. So I'm currently on your same time zone. I'm the director of the Center for Innovation at Xavier University. I officially took that position over in July, but I've been working out of this center for 2 years now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we've lost Chris. So, hello, my name is Cliff Dressner. I'm the co-chair of the Innovation Center here, and I actually come from up that way in Indiana.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Paula Griswold, and I'm Associate Director for the School of Health Professions, and I'm on the Innovation Committee here at ULM.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
And I'm Mara Loeb, and I'm on the committee too. I am from the communication department here.
Great. Welcome.
Chuck Hughes, I'm a librarian.
And I'm Leonard Clark, School Director for School of Education, and just here to find out what's going on, learn.
All right. Well, we'll hopefully get Chris back on the line, but I'll give you sort of how we got started and what we do. Does that sound good until we get Chris back on the line?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Chris, just
Chris
go back
is
up
in the
a
room
little.
with us now.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just I was controlling, some of the links that I distribute to my colleagues.
Ah,
All right, I'm here now.
got it. So is it, Chris, is that what you'd like? Just have me give an overview for how we got the center started here? Is that?
That'd be great for me.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So 6 years ago, we got a new provost, and he came from we're a Catholic Jesuit university. He came from another Jesuit university, and he looked around, not just Xavier, but higher ed, and decided that higher ed really needs to get better at innovation. And so there's a local guy in town. His name is Doug Hall. He retired from Procter & Gamble. He started there as a chemical engineer and then went into marketing and started his own brand of innovation called Innovation Engineering. Excuse me. It's largely based off the work of Deming. Deming was the guy who went over to Japan post-World War II and helped them resurrect their auto industry. So about 30 faculty and administrators went out to his place called the Eureka Ranch and went through a week-long course in innovation. We had several amounts of homework prior to going and some follow-up homework. About 6 of us got what Doug calls his innovation engineering black belt. So we, did all the steps to get through that. As we were going through that, I kept running up against the D school at Stanford. I don't know if you all are familiar with that. D is short for design. And about 15 or 20 years ago, a couple of Stanford professors started this school. The university president used to say that you can't call yourselves a school because you don't offer any degrees. Once they got endowed for $60 million, he said, I don't care what you call yourselves. So I went out to Stanford and did their design thinking boot camp. So my background, I don't know if Chris shared with you, is in the arts. My degrees are all in music and particularly in conducting. If you had asked me 15 years ago what I'd be doing today, it would not be talking to a group of esteemed colleagues in Louisiana about innovation. So this this design thinking thing and innovation really grabbed a hold of me, and we started a school around sort of the mixture of arts and innovation. And then the provost and the first director of the center left, and I was asked if I would be interested in taking that position up, and I said absolutely, because I've found it's not that I've let any of the other stuff go, but I have a passion for the work now. So what we do is internally we have a couple academic programs. So we have an innovation minor that's shared between arts and sciences and the business school. As a part of that minor, I teach design thinking. There's sort of if you're a business student, there's a track for business students. If you're especially an entrepreneurship student, there's a track for you. And if you're not a business student at all, if you come from arts and sciences or our College of Professional Sciences, there's yet a third track that you can take. So a number of business faculty and myself teach in that minor. We also created a new major called Human-Centered Making. Students in that curriculum take 2D and 3D drawing and art, computer programming, AutoCAD, 3D modeling, 3D printing, UI, UX, project management, design thinking. They have an option for a couple of business courses in the mix, and the goal of that degree is to solve human-centered problems. The solution can take shape as an app or as an artifact, something you manufacture, or a service or solution. Our current, the first cohort are currently juniors, so we're very excited to see next year where they go. We've had some early indications from companies like Procter & Gamble and Kroger, who are local to us, that they'd be very interested in interviewing the students. So we're pretty excited about that. Externally, we live in the startup world. So we go to probably 3 or 4 startup pitches a month, and here on average 12 to 15 startups pitch. We host 2 startups in our building. We're currently at 1, but we're interviewing right now to bring in the next one. Most of the startups that are in our building are there because we have some sort of reciprocal relationship. So if it's a product or service that we can help them sell, we'll get a piece of the sale price, or if it's something we want to use internally, and then we get a 0 fee or extremely discounted fee for service, or it's an alumni who's come back and we really want to help them get a start. And then it's just a somewhat nice office space with really good Wi-Fi. So that's, and then we, partner with a lot of, so in Cincinnati, there are probably at least 6 different accelerators, and we talk with those folks all the time. If you've been doing this work a while, I don't know how it is where you all are, but people are really supportive of one another and talk to one another, and so our network is very rich. So we will often send students out to a place and say, you need to go talk to this person because they know a lot about X, or you need to send this person out because they can really help you with your pitch, or go to this person because they've actually have created this app that's a lot like yours and they might have a lot to share with you. So making those connections between internal Xavier and external Cincinnati is a lot of what we do. When the center was designed, we were designed as a revenue making entity, and we're slowly getting better at that. The first person that set it up was really good at spending revenue and not so good at making it. So we're slowly getting around that. We have a couple business partners that help us do that externally. I'm a facilitator for a company out of Toronto and go pretty much all over the Midwest, facilitating sessions in both design thinking and change management. So that's probably our biggest revenue supporter at the moment. Okay, so that's sort of the nutshell, and Chris has heard that most of it, I think, all before. I'm staring at a number of questions, and and Paula sent those, I guess. So I'm happy to go down that list. Hello, Paula, and run those. Or if you want me to stop talking for a minute, if there are any questions you have at the moment, I'm happy to answer those as well.
I'm fine if you just go by the list.
Great. So our Innovation Center had its start as an auto parts store. Alumni who come back from 10 years ago or so look at it and they say, I used to buy parts for my car here. And then when Xavier bought the property and let the guy run it until he was ready to retire. And then we did a couple big construction projects on campus. And one of our local construction companies sort of retrofitted the space, walled half of it off and put in some HVAC and made it a space for all their subcontractors. So the plumbers, electricians, internet people all lived in there. And as we were looking for a space on campus, we walked in there, and the space is very industrial looking. It has a metal roof, so when it rains, it's a really great sound. There are a number of large open spaces. I'd be happy when I get back on Monday to send you some photos of it.
Great.
So in the large room, we can host up to 150. We also went out and bought a ton of IKEA furniture, so everything is very very loose in configuration. We can set up tables, or we can just have theater seating. We have sort of a food. We don't have a kitchen, but we have a place where we can set out food to feed people who come in for any number of different meetings or simulation sessions. There is one classroom that's in the middle of the building. So all the walls in the building don't go all the way up to the ceiling except for the one classroom in the middle. So that's where our classes in human-centered making are taught. That's also, we call it our NDA room, because we have 2 different NDAs going on right now with local companies, and they, as some of you might know, require secure spaces and specific things that you can or cannot do with data. So we have some locked cabinets in there, and try to be as true to the letter of the law about how we keep data secure for the NDAs. And then in the very back of the room is our, it's not really a makerspace. We have 31 3D printers, a CNC milling machine, a Tormac CNC milling machine, a couple 3D scanners, a CNC router, and I think that's all of the there are a couple other, there's several types of 3D printers, but they all pretty much print in the PLA, if you all know what that is. We have a couple different print substances that we're able to do, but mostly the PLA. Bless you. The center is used, in a lot of different ways. So we host the making classes, my design thinking class. We have a speaker series. Once a month, we'll bring in either a local or a regional or a national speaker. We host startup meetings. We host companies will come in and rent out the space. Cintas Corporation is coming in a couple of weeks, because they, we have all these movable whiteboards, and they love it because they can sort of, design the space for what they need. So they're going to come in to do a big brainstorming session in a couple of weeks. Who else comes in? Students come in. We're especially popular during finals because there's a lot of open space and good Wi-Fi. So we tend to have extended hours for the finals. And then we meet with all kinds of people. We meet regularly with angel investors, just to find out, who they have in their pipeline, what their needs might be. Could they make a connection with Xavier students? Do they need interns? Are they looking for students who are ready for jobs? What is the skill set they need? Work with a lot of companies that are interested. We're working with 3 companies right now that are interested in training students to have jobs in tech-related fields, either in sales or IT. That's a pretty big draw in Cincinnati. I'm going down the next question. How is it funded? So I report directly to the provost. I have one other, so I have an associate director, and then we have an administrative assistant. We have two sources of funding. One comes from the provost's office, and we have an annual budget, and then there's a fund that our founding donor has agreed to give a 10-year sort of installment to. So we have, you know, regular operating dollars and then dollars in a gift fund. Events that are hosted, I think I covered that, but speaker series, student meetings, the Entrepreneurship Club meets with us once a month. Lots of different things. Who runs the Innovation Center? That's me, Tom Merrill, and my associate director, Cindy Dallmeyer. Cindy came from another company in Cincinnati called Centrifuse. That's Cintrifuse. Centrifuse was started about 10 years ago. They are a fund of funds, so they take Ohio Third Frontier funds and help deliver those out to different accelerators. They're co-located in a building with two accelerators. One is the Brandery, which is a nationally acknowledged accelerator. As their name might suggest, they really help the startups who are with them develop their brand. The other is Cincy Tech, which up until this year has really focused on app development, but now they're starting to get into some appliance and IoT startups. But I think they're accepting the first class sort of in the moving out of app and into IoT starting this summer.
What kind of startups do you sponsor?
So the one that's the two that were with us were Battery and Circle. Circle was founded by a Xavier MBA grad. His name is Tarek, T-A-R-E-K, Camille, K-A-M-I-L. Circle is his fourth startup. He's had 3 successful exits from his first 3. They are an engagement tool largely targeted for university advancement folks, or they've gotten great into healthcare now, or universities, trying to think of the third area, which is escaping me at the moment. Colleges, healthcare, and just open it up to the blogger sphere. So working with people who have a blog. So they're all about how do you engage with your users and how do you personalize that, because the days of the boring old newsletter are over, and they want people to get the news they want when they want it, and only the news that they want to see. So they've been doing really well. Battery was with us and then just moved out. Battery is a software platform for design thinking. They do a number of other things, but that's how they got started, so it's the easiest way to describe it. Battery's customers are Adidas, Coca-Cola, Hallmark. Who did they just sign? There, some folks at Procter & Gamble use them. They have a small outfit at Kroger, so they're doing really well. We're looking for our next startup to move in. We're having discussions with people to see who might be the best fit, what their needs are, how they might relate to students. We try and keep students always top of mind when we're bringing in a startup. So both Battery and Circle have hired Xavier grads, and Circle right now also has a Xavier intern, and we like to make those relationships happen. So the next startup that moves in will hopefully offer something to Xavier students. Offer grants. We would really like to, and we're in the process of doing that. We really wanted, there's one student startup that's working for us that we just wanted to give money to because they have a great idea, but we said, if we go down that road, we're just going to be the bank, and we don't want to do that. So we're coming up actually this semester with some sort of application process. We haven't determined if that's going to be a semester to semester or just an annual process. Check back in like in May and I can give you some more details on that. But we do want to help student startups. Our capacity to do that will probably be in the range of somewhere from $1,000 to $5,000, more likely in the 1,000 arena. And we'll be making an application process. I'm sure that we're going to partner with our colleagues in the business college to come up with a good way to do that. Technology, I talked a little bit about that. So a lot of 3D printing. We're just starting to, I have 3 emails in my inbox about 3D printing, the local high schools, most of whom all have one 3D printer, have found that it takes a long time to print one thing on one 3D printer. And when you have 30 of them, we suddenly have the capacity to print an entire class for a project overnight. So that's happily starting to bear fruit, and I don't know that we'll ever make a profit on it, but we'll at least cover our expenses. That's our goal on the 3D printers.
I see you had a relationship with MakerBot.
MakerBot, yeah. So we were one of the first private universities to get one of their innovation centers, and we've upgraded. Gosh, they now have a next gen, I think 6. So the original order was 30 something, and then we gave 2 to the library. We've gotten 6 of the next gen printers in that have dual printing heads. And the support has been okay, but I think MakerBot is still trying to figure out who they want to be. There's been a lot of turnover in the past 6 months in their staff. So all the people that came in and trained us and did everything with us are no longer with the company. They were also recently bought out by Stratasys, they make the professional, the additive manufacturing machines, so the type of machines that GE Aviation will use to print their airplane parts. And it's our hope someday to get one of those, but they're really expensive. So we're looking down that road, but it's a little bit further down.
I wonder, as it relates to the staffing, which you talked a little bit about, and IT services, and then the students at the university. So first, if the students have a project, whatever field they're studying, whatever their major is, can they come to the space and get help or assistance in designing that project at no fee?
Sure. So we have a Makerspace in our library, and that's typically the place where students will go because they have 2 full-time people there that can do exactly that can help them use, and we gave them 2 or 3 printers, I think. So they have a number of other, they have these sewing machines that can do things. They have I don't remember exactly what all equipment is in there. The printers we use mostly for our making classes and for our work in the community. So we work with several organizations, and that's, we really try and turn not much, but at least charge enough to recoup printing costs, including materials, labor, warranty and maintenance on the printers.
Well, it's just, running the printer is one thing, and I'm going to be a little selfish here because I'm in the visual arts.
Sure.
At the university. And do they learn the program, or do they learn or do they learn both? They learn a 3D program in order to make things, or they learn how to run the MakerBot, or
right.
Can you elaborate a little bit on?
Yep. So the MakerBot Innovation Center comes with an administrative suite, if you will. So we will let students print on the printers, but they have to send it. So we have 4 interns, student interns that run the printers, who are all either human-centered making majors, engineering physics majors, students who have been trained to use all the software. And so, what most students do is they'll go on Thingiverse and download a document and take it over to the library and print it. And that's the right and acceptable thing for them to do. But if it's a student a making student or an engineering physics student or a biology student who wants to, print out a cell type, or we printed out some organic molecules for a chemistry professor last year, then we'll give that to our student interns and let them either, most of the time, the students that we have running the printers will know how to do the correct rafting, the correct supports, the correct orientation on the printer to load the object. So we generally don't let just any student into the Innovation Center. That's sort of what the Makerspace in the library is for, unless they have a project that requires the skills of our students. And when they do, we typically just charge material costs for students, which we've sort of figured out at 8 cents a gram on the PLA. For somebody from the public or a company that wants to use our printers, we bump that up to 20 cents a gram for PLA.
And does that, then the staff that you have, do you have your own IT staff to take care of, you talked about data storage and safety and all that stuff, or is that provided by the university?
So that's provided by the university. We do use the IT staff at the university, although the battery platform that I'm talking about is, huge companies use that, and they have a very big line drawn in the sand about how secure your data is. So we store, and they've passed all the tests, and have even hired, hackers to come in and try and break their walls. And so we're comfortable storing our data on our battery site. We do not store it internally.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to keep going down this list, and then we'll have some time at the end. We do have a website, and I'm not proud of it at the moment. My colleague Cindy is hard at work putting a new one together that will be much more beautiful and better organized. So on the website will be sort of our what we offer to faculty, students, and staff, and then what we offer to the community. And it'll be much easier for you all to just look at that than have me talk you through what that's gonna look like. As soon as we get that, I'll send Chris a link to it, and you can peruse that. Community and businesses involved. So happily, we are right next door to HCDC, which is the Hamilton County Hamilton County Development Corporation. They've chucked the big name now, and they just go by HCDC. They currently house about 40 different startups, and we talk with those guys probably once a week. We send students over there. One of their guys who knows how to run the milling machine is coming over to teach our students. We have a membership with Centrifuge, so Cindy goes down there one day a week just to check in with anybody who might be working down there. We are academic members of something called the Keiretsu Forum, which is a global angel investment network. So Cindy and I go once a month to hear 4 startups. And mind you, these aren't brand new startups. These, in order to be able to pitch to Keiretsu, you have to have revenue coming in already. So we hear those. Also, the Queen City Angels and the Greater Cincinnati Venture Association. So we do monthly meetings for each of those and listen to startups. If they have need for student help or student interns, we always find a way to talk to them afterwards, and see if there's some connection we can make to Xavier. We talk with big companies frequently. A couple of the NDAs we have are with some of the largest companies in Cincinnati. You can imagine who those might be, companies like Procter & Gamble or Kroger. So we're pretty excited about that. And then, I facilitate sessions. So once a month, I'll do a session on either change management or design thinking, which is through our partner in Toronto, Experience Point. And we do those. And then there's in our business school, we have a consultancy practice called Xavier Leadership Center, and they work with all the local and regional Cincinnati companies, and they also list our services. They have a dedicated sales team of 3, so they also list our business services, and we've been actually getting a lot of work through the XLC. So that's been good as well. So the main thing is, that we've learned is it's really important to build your network. It's really important to keep students top of mind and what can you do for students. And it's really important to connect the university to the community, particularly around innovation, and not be a ours and theirs, but how might we work together. We also try very diligently to work with our other local universities, because even though our students are our students now, they're going to be working with these other students from the other universities in the very near future, and they should build their network that way. So our locals are Northern Kentucky University, Miami University, and of course University of Cincinnati. And those 3, we try to talk to those guys. We just had University of Cincinnati is starting their innovation center, which is about we're 6,000 square feet. They bought out and are reconverting an old Sears building that's 100,000 square feet. So they'll be the big players. We just had their new director in and talked with him for about an hour and a half about what he's doing, how we started, what we did, how he's doing it, how can we work together. So we, Cindy and I say, when people come and ask us, we say yes, and then we figure out how to do it. Publicize the IC. So our website, our students are some of our best publicists, students who have either been through the design thinking classes or the making major, or who just come in and say, hey, we have an idea, and who can we talk to? And when we make connection, that gets the word out. And yes, students can utilize the Innovation Center. I think I pretty well described the ways that they can do that already. So I think I got through Paula's questions, but I'm happy to take some more from you all. And I'm going to grab a sip of water here.
If I could just, does anybody else want to say something?
Well, I do have a question.
Go ahead.
You throw out these wonderful phrases like change management, design thinking, and making major. And what does that actually mean?
Okay. So design thinking started at Stanford. It's also called human-centered design. And I can tell you the really, excuse me, quick story about that. So when I was at the D School, they always bring back an alumni who had a great design thinking solution. The guy they brought back was Doug Dietz. He's a medical engineer for GE Health. And he and his team had just made the latest and greatest MRI machine and went to see it installed at Pittsburgh Children's Hospital. Wow. Doug watched an 8-year-old boy go through the machine, and the kid was so terrified of the machine that they had to sedate him. 8-year-old cancer patient. So after mom and drug kid left the MRI room, Doug went up to the tech and he said, how often do you have to sedate a child to get him to take a non-invasive MRI? And the tech said about 80% of the time. Wow. And Doug, who had been through this human-centered design thing, knew that he had made a bad experience for that user. Machine worked great, bad experience. So he went back to his bosses at GE and they said, how'd it go? And he said, well, the machine works great, best images ever, but kids are so terrified of the machine that they have to sedate them. And his bosses said, well, that's not your problem, that's the hospital's problem. He said, no, I made a bad experience for that user and I'm gonna fix it. And they said, well, that's fine, but we're not giving you any more money. You have to use your own budget to do it. He said, great, I'll do it. So he took a team of engineers back to the hospital and formed teams of doctors, nurses, patients, and parents. And he was showing us pictures of all these teams. And when he got to the patient team, I mean, this was just 6 months after they had completed the design thinking project, he got pretty choked up because 3 of the kids that were on his design team did not make it through their treatment. So ultimately, they made one change to the inside of the machine, and magnets that had been oriented top and bottom, they reoriented left and right. That was the only change they made to the inside of the machine. What they changed was the way the user experienced the procedure. So what was a big, scary MRI bed became a pirate ship or a rocket ship. And the experience started before you ever approached the hospital room, because as you approached the MRI room, the tiles on the floor would change to parrots and palm trees or stars and comets. And when you got in, they had totally laminated the MRI machine and put various things on it to make it look like a pirate ship or a rocket ship. And the tech wasn't dressed in scrubs. The tech was dressed in the costume of whatever the ride was. And the sounds coming through the speakers were not hospital pages, but tropical island sounds or sci-fi sounds. I think for the tropical island one, they even pumped pineapple scent into the room.
Oh,
And the script had nothing to do with, okay, Timmy, hold really still and we're going to take pictures of your body. It's, Timmy, there's a spaceship and you're the captain. As the captain, we need you to get it into hyperdrive. In order to get it into hyperdrive, you have to hold really still. You'll know it's in hyperdrive when it gets really fast and it gets really loud. I have never had an MRI, but people who have tell me those two things happen, fast and loud. And suddenly Timmy's like, Mom, I got the spaceship in hyperdrive. Can I do it again? And Mom doesn't have to drag her already sick kid, now drugged, out of the room. So there were 3 amazing outcomes from this design thinking solution. Number 1, they lowered the sedation rate from 80% to 6%. Not because they changed anything drastic about the machine, but because they changed the way the user experienced the procedure. Number 2, when other hospitals found out that they didn't have to sedate a kid to get them to take a non-invasive MRI, 6 more were ordered in the next 2 months. These are not inexpensive machines, as I suspect you know. Number 3, as a result of that, Doug Dietz is now the head of innovation for GE Health. You can Google him, last name Dietz, see his machines online. It's pretty cool. So that's what I teach. I teach students how to do that. Stanford came up with a way. If you go on the D School website, you'll see their 5 steps, which are empathize, define, ideate, prototype, test. I don't know if you all know the company IDEO. They're a company that was based out of San Francisco. They now have offices globally. They help small companies like Apple and Google come up with new products and services. So IDEO has a different way of sort of sorting out the steps, but they're essentially the same thing. And then, so we look at really design thinking as the flip side of the coin to change management. So what design thinking helps you do is come up with innovations, and sometimes with disruptive innovations. And if you're on the receiving end of a disruptive innovation, if you're a company that's been doing things one way for a long time, and suddenly, you used to make vinyl LPs and nobody's doing that anymore. Well, I take that back. Now it's a thing again. But whatever the technology, and you suddenly realize that you have to get your entire workforce to do things in a new way because innovation has happened. Well, that's where change management comes in, and you have to get your employees ready to change. And so you do that through understanding what the problem is at its root, envisioning what the solution is going to be, engaging your employees, motivating them, communicating what actions are going to happen, and then doing the actions, and then consolidating. So there's that's change management and design thinking, and then the human-centered making. Maker culture has been around for a long time. That's pretty much what industrial designers do. Lately, so as a Jesuit university, we are always sort of top of mind for us is how do we live and move in this world, and how can we help others? So the human-centered making major, when they do their projects, they focus on social good. So The first year they made a prosthetic leg for a golden retriever who was about to be in training to be a service animal. Probably not for a visually impaired person, but maybe golden retrievers now, service dogs now work with severely ADHD children. They work with, they can detect, some of them can detect epileptic seizures, so they have a broad range of abilities. Last year we built a hand for an alumna who growing up had to get a new prosthetic hand every 2 years at a cost of about $20,000. Our hand actually had electronics that would connect to the end of her arm that had a well-defined muscle mass, and when she engaged the muscles, she could actually make the hand flex. And when it was all said and done, we built that hand parts and maker plastic for about $80. So you think about the implications of you know, building a hand for somebody in a developing country or somebody at home who can't afford $20,000 a year. That's pretty cool. This year they're working, so we house a group on campus called Ride to they just changed the name. I don't remember the new name. Ride to Recovery, which helps get veterans up on bicycles and doing either mountain biking or road racing. And so they're helping to adapt bicycles for veterans who may have lost an arm, a hand, a leg, and figuring out different ways to adapt the bicycles. So that's sort of what the human-centered making major does. Sorry to be so long-winded, but that's where we're going.
Can you imagine having an innovation center without a makerspace? No. You know, well, let's see. So I'm trying to think of all the, you know, the other thing that's been really fun is having folks like you come talk to us. Everybody's curious about makerspaces. So I will tell you, D School has a makerspace. UC is planning a 6,000 square foot makerspace. Who else have we seen? Wright State up the road has a big makerspace. Ohio State's a little different because, so the larger state schools, and you all may know this, typically the way they deal with innovation is they have a lot of IP, intellectual protocol, that gets turned into, you know, they'll have actual tech transfer offices that help faculty or student research get transferred into IP. We don't do that. We're a liberal arts school, so that's not so much in our wheelhouse, but I know the larger state universities are very much into that. I don't know if Ohio State has a makerspace. I'm guessing they do. And then, you know, gosh, I'm trying to think of the others. I don't know if Northern Kentucky across the river does. They have a number of different things, but I think, you know, especially for prototyping, if not a makerspace, you definitely need like the world's biggest kindergarten classroom to do all kinds of prototyping. Stanford D School has that as well. They have like an entire wall of pipe cleaners and clay and hot glue guns and things that you would need to make prototypes with. So yes, and lots of whiteboard space, lots of markers, acres of Post-it notes. These are all things that we find common to lots of innovation spaces. So when they started your space, you started out with a space big enough and a vision to have this sort of maker space all in one place, I'm assuming, right?
Yes. Yeah. And mostly, I know that we wanted the space to be big enough to hold, you know, 100. I think when we did our grand opening, we had like 450 people in the building. I'm sure they couldn't all see what was going on, but that was a little cramped. But we can easily seat 100 in for a talk. And then, you know, making sure that furniture was really movable. Excuse me. Did I get your question there?
Oh yeah, you've got me
Okay.
dreaming. You need some. No, I'm not gonna say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom, you gave us a great example of how student and community member engaged. But what about the couple of examples can you provide us regarding the faculty or the staff member being a part of the Innovation Center?
Sure. So, gosh, I'm partnering with our chair of management and entrepreneurship right now. I don't know if you do this at your institution, but all of our end of semester evaluations used to be on paper, and faculty would take 10 or 15 minutes of the last class of the semester to hand out the evaluations. They'd leave the room, give the envelope to a student, and you'd get almost 100% feedback. As we have been moving into the electronic age, we have now put all of our course evaluations online, and the response rate has moved down to the 20 and 30%. Right. So I'm taking with this professor, I'm doing a 5-day sort of blitz, design thinking blitz, and the students are answering the question or trying to solve the problem of how might we raise the student response rate for the end of course evaluations. Our library is hosting a conference in May with technical services librarians, and for the first 40 who sign up for it, they can have an afternoon of design thinking experience. It's free for them, but they have to do a couple of what we call empathy interviews. So that's interviewing extreme users. So I do that. I did a project with our campus police. I'm about to do a project with our enrollment management folks. So lots of different ways.
So you're saying that faculty come to the design thinking class, other faculty?
They have. So I would say that, and faculty and staff come, most of them come to the 4-hour simulation that we offer once a month. And it's a quick introduction to how it works, but it gives them some hands-on experience. And then we say, look, if something comes up and you have a project that you think design thinking might provide a good solution for, give us a call and we'll set up a project for you and help you run it.
Very nice. Do you still give the certificate, or is it turned into a degree?
So we have a certificate program called the Innovation Design Certificate. We are offering that next in the fall. That's really for external community members, either people who work for a business and want to come up with a new idea or solution outside of their, they obviously get the blessing of their company because the company is paying for it, and they come in and work with us, or somebody who's not with a company who wants to start a new idea for a business. So that's not an accelerator. That gets them to the place where they have enough confidence that their idea is ready to go. We have 2 or 3 other programs that we're looking at pretty seriously in that regard. One's called Zarela Mvp. So you have an idea, how do you get it to a minimally viable product? And then a third one is around the intersection between strategy and design thinking. So we have a lot of work on our plate that we're working through and trying to figure out what best fits the needs of our internal community and our external community. And we're still figuring it out because we're just 2 years old.
Yeah.
Tom, I have still one more question. What are the couple of successful programs for the online students from your Innovation Center? Or are these programs only for the on-campus students?
Oh, I see. Yeah, so far everything is on ground. We haven't done any online programs. I'm trying to think about this now. In innovation for students, I know the business school has done some. Surprisingly, our nursing program is the one program that has been most successful in the online arena. They do a lot of international work with nursing. They have a dual program with a school in the Philippines. So it's not that we're not trying. I think there are a number of faculty who are loath to get into the technology of it and just don't want to be bothered with it. But what I hear from my business college colleagues, especially for students who are seeking an MBA, that online is going to be the way to do it in the very near future. Because there's a lot of demand for online now.
Thank you.
Did you address how you receive submissions for help from your center and how your selection process? I had to leave the room for a minute, don't know what I missed.
So mostly it's just people coming to us say, hey, we have a problem. So there is no formal application process. It's through our network, either students or faculty who will come in and say, can you help us with this? And if it's a good fit for design thinking, we'll say yes. And if not, we'll direct them to the people or institution that we think might be the best fit.
But they must be fairly far along in their process. They don't come to you and say, I have an idea.
No, we take ideas too. We like those and help them work those out as well. Yeah, so we take you where you are and try and find the best place to help you.
So you're the director of the center and you're also faculty?
I'm such a weird freak of nature. So I am currently I am a tenured full professor at Xavier. So this is hard to talk about. I am a professor at Xavier. I'm currently not in a faculty role. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So if my role I'm a full-time 12-month employee. When all my colleagues go away at the end of May, I'm still there slugging it out, working around. For the first time ever at Xavier, I have to do things now like report my vacation hours. What faculty has to do that, So I'm in this weird sort of hybrid thing, but it's okay because I really like what I do. But I also still get to teach, so that's good.
Yeah, I mean, you made it sound like you teach that design, or at least guide the design thinking.
No, I do in the spring. So right now I'm teaching a design thinking class, and like the human-centered making, whenever I teach that, we partner with a local nonprofit. So right now we're partnering with an after-school program at a local high school, and my students are teaching those high school students how to do design thinking. And the challenge that we're trying to solve is how might we lower the incidence of teenage alcohol abuse in the neighborhood. And then this summer, I teach a graduate section, and we're working with a group in Cincinnati called Cradle Cincinnati, which is funded by our children's hospital, and their goal is to lower the incidence of infant mortality in Cincinnati, which sadly is really, really high. We're like top 10 in the nation, and it's a very embarrassing statistic. So we're going to be helping the folks at Cradle Cincinnati this summer.
Wow.
You're an inspiration.
Well, thank you. It's, for a guy who started his career as the choir director at Xavier, my wife asks me two questions when I get home all the time. Number one is, what cool person did you meet with today and what are they making? And the second one is always, when can I retire? So I will happily answer the first, and the second is always not yet, dear. But it's a really rewarding position, and I love the work. I love the challenge. And it is a challenge. Innovation is scary. You'll find faculty on campus who are afraid of it or don't want to have anything to do with it. And it takes a lot of small wins to get people on board. And so if you're just starting this thing up, find some champions and look for quick small wins that will help you make it grow and collaboration from across the campus, and find out who else is doing it in your community and how you can partner with them and where those pockets are. And it won't be the same for you, because you'll have different people. You might have people who are really innovating in agriculture or technology or energy, so find those people and places and find what their needs are and start talking.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time and sharing your ideas and expertise with us.
My pleasure. And please don't hesitate to reach out via email. And when I get the new website up, I promise to send that to you. And if you have questions after our conversation today and you want to follow up via email, please don't hesitate to do so.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very
Thank
much.
you. Have a
Thank
good
you
day.
all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay.
Wow.